In this film, I'm going to talk about how I got out of Zipp Wheel's tubeless tire hell. I went through 3 different configurations of tubeless tire tape before I arrived on one that would work, which was the 4th one on my Zipp wheels for my cyclocross / gravel bike. And here are the 4 choices. Started with standard Gorilla Tape, went to clear Gorilla Tape, then I went with actual tubeless tire tape, and I ended up using mineral spirits to clean off the tape residue in between tries. So this was a ton of tire work. You can see the Gorilla Tape there, the DT Swiss tubeless tape there, which I really didn't like because it doesn't really stick at all. There's our clear Gorilla Tape. And here we go, the Scotch Model 8896 tape. This stuff is amazing. It finally got me out of tubeless tire tape hell. And I learned about this on the Bicycles of Japan YouTube channel, so check that out. We'll go ahead and do a caliper measurement on this guy. We can see that it's right at 24 millimeters wide, and our wheel is on the outside 25.6. So when you stretch this tape or pull it tight in between the rim, it really sticks well and holds well. So that's the solution, and we're going to walk through how we did that in this video. Okay, so we've got our work environment set up the way we like it, and we're gonna start by taking off the back wheel because we did the front wheel last night and it worked perfectly. So we're doing this workflow for the second time on the back wheel, which is always a little more challenging because you have the drivetrain there. So we'll start by taking the tube out of this. I had it in a tube setup because I had given up and lost hope until I discovered the Bicycles of Japan YouTube channel, which had this solution built in. And oftentimes these other tapes actually do work. Like, I've had good success using Gorilla Tape on fatter rims for cruiser and mountain bikes. So we went ahead and used a heat gun to heat up our tire, get it nice and warm. That's going to allow it to come off pretty easily. That can be a tough challenge with road bikes and cyclocross bikes and gravel bikes. Then we'll go ahead and deflate the air out of this tire tube, carefully roll it back up, then tape it with some painter's tape, which doesn't leave any residue, and go ahead and put the date and size on it so that we can put it in our spare tube kit just in case we ever need it. Let's take a closer look at the DT Swiss rim tape, which was a complete and total failure. It's also the most expensive tape I tried in this test. It was around $20. And so we can see as we rotate the wheel, we're looking for the spot where the sealant got under the rim tape and into a spoke hole, causing the whole system to fail. And right there we can see it. The looks like the edge of the tire tube pushed the tape to the side, creating a pathway for the air and sealant to go into the spoke hole cavity and reduce the pressure of the tire, making the whole system completely useless. I can't tell you how frustrating it is to do all the work to prep a wheel, clean it with mineral spirits, retape it, remount it, add sealant, add pressure, only to have it fail. So I went through this 3 times before finding the Scotch Model 8893 tape on through the Bicycles of Japan web YouTube channel, and finally found my solution. So I'm demoing what can happen here, where the speed of the tire pushes the tape to the side, causing the system to fail. So you need a tape where that's not going to happen, where it's slippery enough on top and sticky enough on bottom that it sticks to the bottom of the rim and doesn't move when the tire moves on it. And we can see that this tape is just a little wider than this rim, so it should fit it really well. Interior length of the rim is just a little under 21 millimeters wide. Okay, so we are going to pull this old tape off. It didn't work, it was a failure. And get our rim pretty quick, cleaned. I'm not going to clean all the residue off of it because I had good luck with a somewhat dirty rim. I'm just going to make sure the rim is very dry. I also don't have a good timeline. My infant son is in his nap time, and so I got to hammer this out in about an hour and then care for him. So if you're a bike mechanic and you've been reading your Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, spend more time on this project than I did. Get that rim nice and clean with mineral spirits, all the residue out. I'm using a little wire here to clean off some of the tubeless tire sealant that's dried and inside the rim holes. Try and get some of that gunk out. Every gram matters before retaping the rim. So it can be helpful to have a partner when you're taping the rim, especially if you want to get good tape tension as you're pulling the tape, and also if you're doing a how-to video for YouTube, it's nice to have someone help film. So my beautiful and helpful wife helped me with this. I'm so grateful for her support in the bike shop today. So here we go. We're holding tension on the tape as we pull it, and you can see it bend into that concavity as we do this. So that's our strategy. And I do 2 layers at a time, starting a few, maybe 10 centimeters past the spoke hole or 3 inches. And it's very clear to see just how well this tape is filling this rim all the way to the edge of the rim and just sinking down well into the concavity as long as we add it with pressure. On the Amazon page for this product, this Scotch model 8893 tape, it says it holds 300 pounds. So really solid. I'm confident it's going to hold, up to, say, 4 bars of pressure. Just keeping tension on it as we continue to tape the rim. We'll go ahead and increase the speed here as we do the second wrap. You can see that the 3-0 mark on this Zipp wheel is where the spoke hole is. Sorry, the valve stem hole, which we will put our valve stem through once we finish taping. Just working my way around the rim, doing one more layer of tape. And I'm going to go just past the spoke hole, so there'll be a small segment of the rim that actually has 3 layers of tape. We can see that 3-0 coming up. And so this is where we're going to use some scissors to cut the tape. If you have any dust on the first layer of tape, you can always blow it off. That's what I was doing there. I'm going to get this taped nice and cleanly on the rim, depressing out any air bubbles, and then on the edge, I'm going to use this tire lever just to depress it so that it gets a really good adhesion right on the edge where the tire might push it off. And there we go. For this next part, we need to put a hole through the 2 layers of tape where the valve stem is going to pass through. So I'm going to take a brass screw and push it through the bottom of the rim and then turn it clockwise to put a small hole through the rim tape, a little bit smaller than the valve core. So that's what we're doing here. And then I'm going to make that hole a little bit bigger from the top of the rim tape. And that's what we're doing there. Nice happy hole through the tape. And now we can prep our valve core by taking off the nut and the washer. So that's the valve stem. And I'm going to go ahead and put my rubber O-ring over the top connector so we don't lose it, or the top cap. And I got to get my valve core tool to pull out the valve core out of the valve stem. So that's what we're doing here. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Pop that guy right out. Set it in a place we're not going to lose it. And now we can just kind of push this guy through. I want it to have a good amount of pressure so that the tape seals on it pretty well. And then we're going to use a rubber mallet to tap this guy in so that its rubber cone is nice and on the rim. We're just giving it some love taps, nothing too powerful, just some gentle taps to get it nicely settled into the rim. So we're getting the best seal possible. Good. I can see that that's solidly in there. We can go ahead and put our black O-ring over the valve stem, and then the lock nut washer, our nut will go on next, and we're going to leave our valve core out until we put the sealant in. So before we can add our tubeless tire sealant, we got to put our tire back on, and we're going to check and double check and triple check that the tire is going to get mounted in the correct rotation. This is important for me, may not be important for you, but it's something I feel very strongly about, that the rotation should match the tire, the way the tire was designed. Okay, so once that's done, we're going to heat up our tire again with our handy dandy heat gun, get it nice and warm so it's more malleable, and then we will fit it to the bead, or we'll fit the bead to the rim. So we're just doing continuous motion, lots of movement with that heat gun. And okay, so we are using our tire levers to get the tire completely on the rim so that it's ready to get some air pressure before we add sealant. For this last section, you can see I put a little more heat on the tire. That helped me get the bead popped on correctly. And I'll make sure I wear Ear Pro when I first put this on, or pressure in it. And I'll do about 2 bars of pressure just to get that bead sealed. Then I let the air out, hang up my tire, put down a little shop cloth underneath where we're going to add sealant. And I use this Tupperware container. It's the small one. It holds 4 ounces of sealant perfectly. It's an easy way to measure. And then for this smaller tire, I'm only going to put about 3 ounces in, which is about 1 ounce more than the sealant manufacturer recommends. I tend to err on the side of a little extra sealant. So you can see I spilled a little bit there. So I'm holding it better this time. And if you pull the plunger back just a little bit after depressing it forward into the tube, you don't spill as much sealant. So there's a little tech tip for you there. And we're just going to keep injecting this, clean it off the wheel until we're done, and then put our valve core back in just like that. And now we're ready to tension it with the valve core tensioner and add some air. So we're going to take this up to about 3 bars of pressure. Be super careful when you're doing this. Never, ever, ever exceed the manufacturer's recommendation. You could explode the tire right off the rim and have a very, very bad time. Okay, so now that's done, we're going to spin this wheel around, get that sealant completely covering the inside area, and after that we can grab a sponge, get it nice and soapy, and we'll test this tube for leaks. So typically when things go wrong with a tubeless tire setup, you know right away. You can hear the air leaking out. Sometimes failures are a little more subtle, and this is why I use the soapy sponge method to check for air leaks out of every single spoke hole. So that's what we're doing here, just carefully adding some soapy water to each spoke hole in where the spoke passes through the rim. We're just going to check these one at a time, and we can see each one's pretty well sealed so far. And that way there's no surprises on this job. I would say sometimes it's even more common for where the valve stem passes through the tape to have a leak point there. And you can see we already have some soap on there. And we're going to put a little bit more. It looks really good. No bubbles. So this is a solid tubeless tire conversion, or repair in this case, because we finally got some new tape on these wheels that doesn't suck and does hold air. So rim job complete. So I went ahead and cleaned the soap off the tire with some fresh water, and now we will go ahead and mount it back on our bike, spin it a little bit, and then once the tire is completely dry, we'll lubricate our drivetrain with our go-to bike oil, and this thing is ready to go. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, found it helpful, please subscribe, give me a like, and consider donating $5 to the PayPal tip jar.